Alright guys, for our final band, we're heading for 1987. This marks the latest period in the 80s that we're covering a band with these two hits that really changed the music landscape forever. You know, this band, they were formed in New York City, and they were formed by bassist and singer Kip Winger. If you haven't figured it out yet, yes, I'm talking about the band Winger. This band was known for their blend of heavy metal with a little bit more polished sound, very radio friendly, but it also had a little bit of progressive edge to it, thanks in part by their guitar player, Reb Beach, who was extremely talented. Two-tapping wonder, definitely in the likes of Van Halen and what have you. But most importantly, with Kip Winger involved, they created some great songs. And these songs became anthems and hits in their own right? But, you know, Winger really had their breakout successes through MTV, which will later be their main downfall, but we'll get into that in a bit. But songs like 17 and Headed for a Heartbreak received tremendous airplay on MTV at the time, despite some criticism on the elements and themes of these songs, such as 17. But lucky for them, their musicianship and melodic sensibilities saved them from controversy, for the most part. But let's talk about these songs. So in 1988, by far their most controversial song, but by far their most popular song, 17 hit the landscape, right? And it reached number 26 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, again, there is some controversy and folklore surrounding this song. But, you know, 17's controversial lyrics were really what made that happen, you know. It was a different era that they were singing about, you know. It was the late 80s. But don't be fooled by this. You know, the late 80s, there was already a ton of songs out there that have covered this topic, and it's a little slapstick, but you had things like Christine 16 from Kiss. You had the Beatles singing, you know, about these songs, and it was, you know, they were young men singing about their peers. So at the time, though, Kip Winger wasn't exactly a young man. He was singing about a 17-year-old girl. That's a little suspect, but we won't totally knock him for it because we don't know what state he lived in. Anyhow, Kip Winger was a frontman. He was, you know, another controversy or folklore surrounding him was that he was a former ballerina. So maybe that's where the inspiration of 17 came from. I don't really know. But again, 17, that controversy really stuck out when you heard lyrics like, she's only 17, daddy says she's too young, but she's old enough for me. Hey now, I'm not here to judge, I'm just here to tell you the story of 17, and that was what the controversy was all about there, you know. But it was still a hit song, you know. It's been criticized, but I think everybody who knows the band, the songwriters involved with it, they know that this is just a slapstick theme, you know. It's been used many times in many formats, whether it's movies or music, you know. So 17, nonetheless, was one of Winger's biggest songs. It wasn't certainly an anthem, and I was wrong. It's not actually their biggest song. Why? Because Headed for a Heartbreak in 1989, that actually reached number 19 on the Billboard Hot 100. Now, there was some folklore around it. It showcased Winger's more serious, melodic side. It was certainly, you know, a power ballad. So this really changed up the mood for Winger. Before, their songs were a little more rockin', a little more energy, a little more upbeat and up-tempo. But, you know, unfortunately for them, in the 1990s, Beavis and Butthead got a hold of it. And that really kind of ended Winger's run. I mean, there's nowhere else to say it, really. This song got in front of Beavis and Beavis and Butthead did what they do. And it was awesome. It was hilarious. But if you were Winger, it meant that was the end of your career for that time span. He's doing very well now, but at that time, I'll tell you right now, that controversy from Beavis and Butthead really just kind of, it sent Winger into a downward spiral. It's quite unfortunate because they had a very strong run, very strong musicians in the band, but again, the controversy for Headed for a Heartbreak was too much to overcome, especially with the transition from kind of the hair metal, glam metal thing to grunge that was about to take place. Like, this was like, these were all the final nails. Many people cite, you know, grunge as being the definitive final nail in glam metal and that hair metal scene, but I'd have to say MTV and Beavis and Butthead really kind of helped out in this by far, because, you know, you got Beavis and Butthead wearing AC/DC and Metallica shirts, and then the nerd of the bunch, Stewart, is wearing a Winger shirt all the time. And then they feature that song one day on Beavis and Butthead, and they do a comedy shtick on it, and I'm sorry to say it really just tanked Winger out. Their tours started to decline, their album sales started to decline, and it just marked the new era. And again, grunge was about to hit, so that was going to do the final nail job on hair metal and everything else. But for Winger, I'd have to say Beavis and Butthead, they can thank single-handedly for this, you know? But again, you know, Winger, they always brought a more polished, radio-friendly sound and twist to heavy metal that really stood out. And honestly, I'd say it brought probably a more diverse crowd to a Winger show. You'd probably see more ladies and gentlemen at the Winger show, because I'd say Kip Winger was a ballerina freaking sex icon to these ladies. And he'd twirl around on stage, and that's what the ladies were there to see. And Red Beach would do a killer guitar solo, and that's what the guys were there to see. Everyone was winning. But unfortunately, when Beavis and Butthead hit the scene, Winger lost hard, and that was the end of Winger, really. Until now. Nowadays, Kip Winger's still out there. He does a great job. He's a great songwriter, great composer, still writing music to this day. And, you know, for many people, it's sad that that's their legacy, that Beavis and Butthead kind of took them out. But I'd say that their story's never over. You know, Kip Winger continues to move on and rock out there across the United States. So you'll see him out there still. But we just wanted to dedicate, this moment to Winger, because they are certainly one of the only glam metal bands of this era that was able to achieve a 2-hit wonder status. And we appreciate that, and we thank Winger for putting those songs out and giving us some entertainment during those years. I'm going to pass this out now. We're heading on home. Get it back to Ed. Thanks, guys.
The legacy of the 1980s heavy metal scene was rich with anthems that defined a generation, and the 2-hit wonders. The era played a significant role in shaping the sound and attitude of the genre. Twisted Sister, Quiet Riot, Ratt, Dokken, Winger may have only just had a couple of hits. These songs became an example of the spirit capturing the rebellion, energy, and melodic power that made the 80s so unforgettable. These tracks not only brought heavy metal to a broader audience and solidified these bands in their place in rock history, even as trends in music had shifted throughout the years, and fans alike, the enduring appeal of these 2-hit wonders serves as a testament of the power of well-crafted songwriting and the long-lasting influence of 1980s heavy metal and the heavy metal scene. Moving right along, I just want to remind you to subscribe and like our channel. We love your comments. Give us some comments. We love the feedback. So we're going to keep it running. Just remember, subscribe, like. Thanks a lot. We want to give a shout out to coastlinemall.com. They sell t-shirts, they sell 80s t-shirts, they sell 80s rock and metal t-shirts, they sell movie t-shirts, and most importantly, they support us and we support them. So with the coupon code CRASH, you get buy one, get one half off. Please give them a visit, buy a t-shirt, give a friend a t-shirt, tune in. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.